Do life's greatest questions seem like a mystery? Well, we're probably going to talk about it here at Appalachian Liturgy. Important questions like, are you a Jedi or an Imperial? Is oatmeal actually a breakfast cereal? Is a Catholic weekday really called a ferial? Did you know that Mr. Rogers was Presbyterial? So join us as we have a little fun talking about thy kingdom come. Appalachian Liturgy.
Welcome, everyone, to the Appalachian Liturgy podcast. I am Justin Stacy.
I'm the Reverend Brooke Ashley.
And I'm Justin Bowling.
And tonight, before we talk about anything, I think we should mention the travesty that's going on in the Ukraine right now. I mean, it's terrible what the people of Ukraine is going through with Russia attacking, and thoughts and prayers are with those people. And I think we all need to be praying for peace. It's disheartening what's going on over there. All right, so besides that, we are concluding our season. And last year we kind of went on a Lent break, and I don't know that we even announced it last year. I think we just went on the Lent break.
Well, if you remember last year about this time, my whole world was falling apart.
That's right. So yeah, but this year we're announcing it. We are doing another Lent break. It's a tradition with us now. We're going to do it every year, and that's going to be kind of our season finale. And then we pick up our new season after Easter. So, it's a good month and a half break. But I think we're all going to stay busy during this time. It's not like I'm not going to be doing anything with the podcast. We're going to be meeting a bunch and coming up with new ideas. I'm going to be going through and making new TikTok videos and short videos to post as reels for the older podcasts that we had prior to me starting this, which was in January, basically. So, I've got plenty to do over the next month and a half.
And this is a great time for folks who are listening to our podcast or watching them to tell us what they are curious about. What do they like? What do they not like? What do they want to hear more of? What do they not want us to talk about ever again? Skits.
Hey,
sorry.
You all got
something
your
caught in your throat. What was that?
Yeah.
It's a frog. There's a frog in your throat. You all got your way on that, by the way. I mean, it's not like I'm coming up with any skits anymore. So.
Yeah, but it's good to rub salt in the wound every now and then.
Oh, apparently it is. Well, that's going to be my new bright idea for the newest season. Skits every episode.
No.
All right.
So, I like the idea of a Lent break. I like how Brooke put it when we were talking offline. You do it twice as a tradition. And I feel like that's true, especially in the church. Like that's always the case. You do something more than once, that's the way it's going to be forever.
So.
Right. Yeah. A lot of podcasts, they'll do seasons. They'll have a 10 episode season or whatever it is, and then they'll take a break for however many months. For us, we're basically doing it weekly now. So it is tiring to keep it up and to keep content rolling, So the Lent break, a good month and a half break, I think refreshes our minds and we come up with more creative ideas for the podcast. So one thing I want to do tonight, I think we should, reflect on this past year. I feel like this season 2 was different than season 1, in a lot of ways. So I figure we could talk about that. What did you all think about season 2, the changes we made after we come off our Lent break last year?
I liked the shorter episodes, although I think the longer we went, we're not using episodes, the shorter podcasts.
Whatever.
I do think I really enjoyed having these longer conversations with folks and breaking them up.
Yeah.
That was fun because I don't feel like we left stuff on the table. I also think that when we went off on tangents, it allowed you to be able to break some of that out.
Some of my favorite parts is the rabbit holes we go down. And that's why, and we come up with a character for this thing, with Bishop Bunny. Like that's some of my favorite parts.
Would it be an Appalachian podcast if we didn't have like side conversations going on at the same time? I mean,
exactly. That's part of being Appalachian.
Yeah.
I mean, when you tell 3 stories in between the main story, I mean, that's just the way it's done.
That's right. That's exactly right. But I
Yeah,
do think
I feel like the.
go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
We're talking over each other all night tonight. This is because you missed last week or whenever it was.
Yeah, I'm out of the groove. I'm out of the groove now. I'm not in the right rhythm with you all. You all are on your same wavelength, and I'm over here just kind of butting in right now. I think the writers did a good job as we came into season 2. You can really tell the quality of their writing improved, and the podcast. But
we write a lot.
I think the format where we, especially when we brought on guests, we made sure that they fit into a specific topic, and it produced the conversations were higher quality because of that type of thing. Like having Anna on, it was a great way to fit in a specific topic, and that was a very fruitful podcast that we wound up having. And I think we've done a better job of making sure that we have targeted conversations and targeted guests that make a lot more sense.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is over the past month, that all month of February, we've been doing the substance abuse podcasts with Anna and then with Dustin. That, in my mind, is what our goal should be. Like that's what this podcast should look like.
I mean, when you think about what we started out wanting to do was tell stories about where faith intersected life and how that was unique in our neck of the woods, if you would. And I think that we've done some other things. We dabbled a lot with politics, which has been very polarizing, I think. And I don't know that, and we've talked about this, the 3 of us, I don't know that we always felt free to speak our minds because we always had a guest and we didn't want to, we were doing the polite Appalachian thing and not fighting and not, but in telling those stories, I mean, that's where faith intersects our daily lives. And substance abuse is so prevalent in our society, I mean, and this is coming from somebody who's lived it day in and day out, moment and moment, this past year. But I think it really struck a chord with folks. And I think there are lots of topics like that are not necessarily controversial, but that really affect people's lives. And how do we, as followers of Christ, and how do we, as the church, live into Christ's mandate to love one another when dealing with all of this stuff that's going on?
Right.
So I think those are important conversations to have.
Absolutely. So I think I lost my train of thought. Bones, you have something to say?
I butted in first, remember? I talked over you and got my win.
Yeah.
But no, I do agree 100% with what Brooke's saying. I think the stories part is what, we kind of hinted around for a little bit that's what we felt was making our podcast Appalachian type thing. But I do like that we seem to finally kind of catch a groove on making that the focus of it. And I hope that does continue into the, season 3.
Yeah. So I think, one thing that I noticed that we did, at least pretty early on after we started the season last year, is that we kind of gave up on having guests for quite a while. It was just us 3. And I think the focus there was that, we wanted our listeners to get to know us more. It's kind of where the Kingdom Living series come from, is to get to know us more. So we concentrated so much on that. We didn't end up having a lot of guests. I think, we need to get back to having guests though. Like, I think that telling their stories is very important to what our mission should be. And
yeah, I don't disagree. Totally. I think it was important for us to let people know who we are, because that's kind of where our podcast is coming from. And we didn't always feel like we could do that when we had guests.
True.
I do think using guests and their stories, if they're willing to tell their stories.
Yeah.
And if, in a way that's edifying, I mean, I don't know. So I don't want to see us get back to having guests every single podcast.
No, I wouldn't say that. What I meant by it is I want to have more podcasts, longer podcasts, series of podcasts
I
around
love this series.
around a topic that is specific to someone's story.
So here's what I think. I think what was missing in our substance abuse thing was a wrap up. And maybe we could do that tonight. A wrap up of what we learned in those conversations and what did we become aware of? Because I think all of us in these conversations, we learned things about that topic. And I think that would be a cool addition to some of those series.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I learned through the series is that no one's recovery looks alike. It's not. I mean, even though they call it a 12-step program, there's so much self-identification, self-reflection in those programs that it's not going to look the same as someone else, and dealing with trauma doesn't look the same between each person. So that was kind of one of the big things that I took away from it is it could be a completely different experience based on who the person is.
Well, and there are lots of 12-step programs. Like they're all based on the same kind of thing, but they all do it differently. And I think what I've learned watching people go through 12 steps is some people fly through ones and then they get stuck on one, for a while, or I don't know. So yeah, it looks very, very different every single person. There's no subscription, I guess, or prescription that people go through.
Yeah, and I really liked when we were talking about things that you should and shouldn't say to people who are going through there, because that's something that I kind of need, at least for me personally. I always feel like I'm going to say something incorrect, and so I wind up not doing anything at all, and out of fear of doing the wrong thing. And hearing exactly what some people view, and I know it can be different for people, kind of what you all were just saying, but hearing from people to say like, this is what I like to hear, this is what I don't like to hear from people who are trying to support me, that gives me reassurance that I'm not being like totally off the wall when I could be talking to somebody, and instead of doing nothing, I can actually hold a conversation with somebody about a more delicate subject.
Right. Also learned that Dustin is very passionate about prevention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dustin gets pigeonholed as a politician or a political thinker, speaker, but I think what really got him into politics was the passion for prevention.
I think so. I think you're right.
I mean, in our conversations, I do think, and having worked on the prevention side and now living on the other side, he's right in that it has to be a both and. And I think that sometimes, well, I heard a speaker this morning, make the comment that we needed to point addicts to Jesus. And we had to give feedback. And on that feedback, I wrote, there are a lot of people who struggle with addiction that yearn to follow Jesus and are trying to follow Jesus hard, but anyway,
yeah.
But yeah, I love the continuum that Dustin talked about. And the comment that he said is that time is the greatest. I forget how he said it now, but that time
resource
was the greatest resource, and anything we could do to give someone in addiction time, it is really beneficial, and I'm seeing that in my own life, seeing that. So
I also think it's interesting, obviously I haven't looked at any of the data he was talking about, but he had he was talking about data, and he was saying the data shows that it's basically 25 is when brain development is fully matured. And so that's when, and it's interesting because I don't know that anybody would agree, politics, laws, just anyone who is in the political system would agree that 25 should be when we recognize an adult. It's like parents or anybody, like that is just way too
as
long.
A parent of 2 young adult children, I would fight that law tooth and nail, because I don't want to be responsible for them.
That's right. But
at the same time, I definitely didn't feel like a full adult at 25 either. So I can understand where it's coming from. But yeah, I know you're 100% right. I'm just like thinking of it like But I can think back myself at 25 with a kid. I'm like, I don't know if I feel like I'm old enough to have a kid at 25.
So
we call our kids baby adults.
Yeah.
On TikTok, I had on my personal page, I have that I'm a Christian man child.
Yeah,
So
Abby talks about
still
having adult training wheels.
Mm.
Like college is like adulthood with training wheels, you know.
That's right.
One of Sarah's favorite
had,
jokes is that she has 5 kids.
There you are.
Yeah, that 25 thing. I mean, that's kind of been around for a while now. That, you know, when you look at developmental
things like
psychology,
insurance and rental car places and stuff, they use that, right?
Yeah.
Because isn't it the idea that, well, a 25-year-old's not going to be financially stable or something like that? Like I never knew what was in the back of their mind or why I couldn't drive a rental car till I was 25. But
I used to think it used to be 25 or married. Like somehow, if you got married before 25, you made better decisions or something.
No.
I can remember that because when I was the youth director in Unicoi, I was hired before I turned 21. So I couldn't rent or drive anything with other kids, you know, in the car. I don't know why they hired me at that young age, but whatever. You know, so yeah, but then after I got married, I was 21 and married, and all of a sudden I could rent cars because I was married. So
Wow.
evidently, you know, saying I do like makes your brain work better.
It must do it. Yes.
I don't know. So I was trying to think some of the things that I learned. Of course, you know, with me in this topic of substance abuse, it's hard for me to differentiate what I learned in our conversations than what I've just learned over the last year. But the affirmation that Anna received was overwhelming. And so that was really beneficial. And I think just people, you know, some of the feedback I got was that it helped people dealing with folks that in their own families that was dealing with this. And, you know, because it's not easy. So I think people need to give themselves some grace and but yeah,
That's true.
But we've had some other great conversations and episodes. I can't get away from it. It's been a year, Stacey, a year, and I keep calling it episodes. Like
you can call it whatever you want. It is episodes. I'm not titling it that.
Okay, so
if we're calling it seasons and not episodes, it's going to be.
It doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we're having a season.
Yeah.
Right.
Call it whatever you want.
Okay. Great. I can take my episodes back.
We had really the first, I guess, longer series, even though it wasn't on one specific topic, but it was a month long. That was the Spooktacular Halloween something yada yada series. And I haven't went back and made that a series in YouTube, but I'm going to over the next month and a half. It's going to be its own series in YouTube. So, you know, which was hilarious.
Here's what I think some of our listeners need to know is that Stacey's really the driving force behind all this. Like, I feel like I just like return a couple of text messages and then just show up and talk. Like
that's usually more active than me, unfortunately.
You know, do a little research or read an article or two, and like the boys are coming out with like these articles and all these sites and sources, and I'm like, yeah, well,
no, Stacey's the creative genius behind it. Yeah, for sure.
Genius is a kind word to use.
Sometimes evil genius.
Evil genius. That's
yes. Right. Put no morality on the word genius there.
Yeah. And you know
a neutral word.
Something that we haven't really done much of this past year is current events. You know, we've had topics that wasn't related at all to what's currently going on type thing in the headline news, that is. So, you know, I found that interesting because I know when we kind of started, we thought, well, we'll be mostly doing current events, but I don't feel like we went down that route, and we might not have to. You know, there's so much to talk about. So.
Yeah, especially with the
Yeah,
more themed approach. And I do like the themed approach too, because even you're kind of joking about the spectacular one being a theme across the whole month. But I mean, really, it worked too, because like being able to follow up and be like, oh, kind of like what we mentioned on the previous podcast and reference that and even continue it into the next one. Like that's a very good way to continue a conversation. You're picking up with an old friend, again, back to the Appalachian, like, hitting, talking to somebody that you hit up last week,
come sit a while.
That's right.
Exactly.
And something
Come sit a
that
spell.
something you mentioned just as we started this, that what you would like to do is to get back to having longer conversations and split it over two weeks or more. I love that idea. And I honestly, I think, and this is one of the things I was going to bring up to you all over the next month and a half, so I'm just going to bring it up tonight, that I want to kill. That is the schedule that we have.
Hey,
I think it's been somewhat of a hindrance to where we're trying to force things in, but if we have longer conversations to where we need to split it up, let's just do that. And if we don't have a schedule, then the audience is not necessarily going to know what we're going to do next week, and we can just announce what we're going to be doing next week.
Well, and I think too, I mean, we were trying to hit that 30-minute mark, and we never did.
No,
y'all,
listen,
we can't even say hello. I mean, we're Appalachian. You can't even say hello in 30 minutes.
That's right.
So, but having longer conversations, I think that we could do it. And I think people would enjoy the 30-minute bites instead of the 45 minutes or an hour.
I agree. And I also think that the 1 minute clips that I'm doing on shorts, reels, and TikTok, I think that's helping because people
I'm going to start sending you Aaron's sermons and like paying you to do that, because I can't do it. Like I've been trying to do it for the church. I can't do it.
Okay. I will absolutely do that for you if you want me to do it. It's not hard.
Maybe for you. It's definitely not my talent.
I can't do it. And Justin's like, oh, it's not hard.
It's not hard.
No.
Anybody can do that.
It's not hard. For the rest of us, it's impossible.
I actually enjoy it. I love video editing. I found over the past couple years, I love video editing. The audio thing, I don't like as much, to be honest. And, I do cover songs with some friends, and I was starting out, I was doing the audio part, hated it. So now I have a buddy that does that, and he actually took like a class on editing. So he is a pro at it now. So he's got that part. I always do the video part on music covers, but I digress on that. I love video editing. So anything that you want to throw at me, Brooke, that's video editing related, bring it. I'll do it.
Lord have mercy. I mean, not that our listeners care about this, but I break apart our service so that we do our faith and family moments on Fridays, and then we do our sermons as a podcast. I don't mind that so much, but like, I tried this week to listen, and it's not that the sermons aren't good. They're great, but to get a minute clip out, I just can't do it. Maybe it's more on him than me. I'll send you one and see if you can do it. And then we'll see. Maybe it's his fault and not mine.
Yeah, the key is, getting a minute of substance, right?
Right.
If you don't finish the thought within a minute, then it's hard. And what you end up having to do is you have to cut something out. You have to cut certain words out or something. And I had to do it with quite a few of the Dustin videos this past week for TikTok. But I just had to split in between and take a few words out and get it down to that minute. So that's what takes time, that part. If you can get just a minute chunk and it's a full thought, then you're good.
Yeah.
Surprised you get any videos of me then, because I feel like I start a sentence plenty of times, get lost halfway in the middle and digress, and then eventually
I've definitely had to cut yours when I'm doing one of you talking. I've had to cut it and get the final thought at the end, because you're
I can believe it
for sure.
Yeah, so y'all know that the church is doing this thing called Grand Sweep, which is reading the Bible in a year, and some of us are doing better than others keeping up with that. And so Aaron preached on Leviticus, like the whole book of Leviticus, the other day, and it was the best sermon I know he's my husband. It was the best sermon I've ever heard coming out of Leviticus, and as we were leaving, one of the guys said, I could have listened to you talk about this forever. Like it was just, and I was like, man, I need to clip this one out.
Didn't.
Okay. I'm sending it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll play
So
around
he
with it.
somehow-
How many videos do you want of it?
I don't know. He somehow preached on Leviticus and didn't send anybody to hell.
Well, that's an accomplishment.
I know, right?
Oh, it's good stuff. All right. Well, that was kind of a rabbit hole, but I guess it was somewhat related.
No, it was a rabbit trail.
That was
Yeah.
definitely a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what else? What else did we do over the past year?
I don't know. What else did we do? It has been a whole. Sorry, I thought
It's been a
somebody was
long
pulling the
year.
driveway. It's been a long year.
It has. It has been a long year.
I did want to ask if there was anything that you all. I know it's more like a New Year's resolution thing, but we didn't. We're kind of treating this as the end of the season too. But is there anything that you thought of in outside of the podcast that was special to you this year, or that you wanted to kind of work on in the next year? Like, and I don't know, New Year's resolution almost, but anything that stuck out to you? Like, I know for me, and that came into my mind because Brooke was talking about reading and not doing the best job of keeping up with stuff, and that was for me the exact thing that one of the things I'm going to try to do better starting here in Lent was reading more, because I have done awful this past year. Like the past few years before that, I had read more books really in that 3 or 4 year span than I had my entire life. And this past year, totally dropped the ball. Have not read hardly anything at all this year. So I'm going to try to pick that back up again myself. And hopefully I can start improving on that. But I don't know if that's anything around those that ring a bell for you all, but I'm going to just pass it over.
Yeah, I'm definitely not reading as much as I used to, and I need to. So that may be something that I try to do, get back to doing in Lent. I've obviously picked up art over just the past few days, and that's not something I've done, as a hobby since I was in school. Like, it's been a very long time. I'd convinced myself that was a talent that I no longer had, because it had been so long. At least early high school was probably the last time I'd done it. And I convinced myself that you can't do it anymore. You're way out of touch with it. And that's why I would always get my sister Kellie to do whatever we need drawn. And she's great at it, so she enjoyed doing it. But I didn't realize I could do it. I did. And
Is this your way of telling Kellie she's fired?
Ooh, that's what it sounds like.
Wow, that I didn't mean it that way, but
Okay, just checking.
maybe. No, I'm probably still going to get her to do stuff for us. But yeah, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, it is a lot of fun, and I've got this nice XP Pen Pro tablet that I bought, and it's like it's basically a huge like mouse touchpad. Is what it is, with a stylus. Is what it is. But I am just having a blast with it. So, when we need more things drawn, it's going to come from me now.
So you are firing Kellie.
I wish you wouldn't put it that way. I really.
That's
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this one.
end of season budget cuts apparently coming up.
End of season, you're fired. I think I did pay her once or twice. Then I quit. But oh goodness. Well,
Sorry,
yeah, sorry.
I couldn't resist.
You lost your job. Sorry. I took her job.
I don't know. That's a good question. I think something that I don't know. So I have joined a board of directors for a nonprofit here in town, and it's really funny. It is the Appalachian Men's Chorus. And of course, I'm not a man and absolutely cannot sing at all. But they asked me to join it and to help them with some nonprofit kind of things. But it has rekindled kind of a love for music and concerts and theater and symphony kind of stuff that we've not done in years and years and years. And so friends that I've been making through that are like landing roles and musical theater. And so we've been doing a little more of that. So that's probably more on our radar than it has been in a very long time.
That sounds awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that sounds like something, like you said, like join the men's chorus. Like, but if it turned like it's apparently worked out to where you've found some new interests and stuff, so that's really cool.
Yeah, so I said yes to that as a favor to a friend, and have really enjoyed it. I mean, it's I am totally not musical at all. Like, have zero musical talent. Like, I can't even play the radio well. But have really enjoyed it. So yeah, so we have a friend that's landed the lead role in the Kingsport Theater Guild's production of Little Shop of Horrors.
Nice.
And so yeah, so looking really forward to some of that. So
something that I've been doing, I guess really since the fall, on and off. But what I'm trying to volunteer more for this, and that is the audio video at church at St. Thomas. And again, I love doing that type of thing. So, and ESPN just rung. It happens all the time. Every time I'm in a meeting or whatever, ESPN goes off.
it at least so we have the fella who does our keyboards at church has his laptop connected. He has a MacBook connected to all the stuff, and so he forgot to silence his notifications, and he did our faith and family moment, and it was fabulous. And a whole bunch of us were texting him thinking he would see it after the service, and it starts dinging through his MacBook.
Oh, no.
Ding, 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 ding.
Through the audio at the church. It was awesome. It was great.
That's great. That is great. But yeah, so I'm trying to be more available to do that. I'm actually I volunteered to do the Ash Wednesday service, so I'm going to be there, and Mom's going to be attending with me. So I'm looking forward. It's going to be her first Ash Wednesday service.
So are you all doing anything? I mean, like, we're doing the traditional pancake thing Tuesday night. Some flipping pancakes.
I think St. Thomas is doing pancakes on Tuesday evening, Tuesday night. I won't be attending that, but I think they are doing it. Yep.
Y'all giving anything up for Lent? Are you doing a Lenten sacrifice?
I haven't thought too much about it. So I've since the new year, I think I told both of you all that the end of last year I did really well with a diet. I lost quite a bit of weight, and then after January, I kind of slipped off of it. What I did is I started teetering away from low carb, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try low calorie for a while. Well, that was a joke. I shouldn't have done that, because once I went low calorie, then I was getting the taste of things like potatoes and bread and stuff. And I'm terrible portioning. That's my biggest flaw. I just can't portion at all. So once I get a taste for it, I'm just going to have to eat the whole thing. It's like you get a foot-long sub. I can't eat just half of that. I'm going to have to eat both halves. So that ruined my diet. The low calorie did. And I haven't got back on a low carb diet yet. So I believe this is what's on my mind anyway. It's for Lent, I'm getting back on low carb, and it's going to start it again. And hopefully I don't give it up this time, because I'm not finished. I'm a good probably 80 pounds away from where I want to be. So, I've still got a way to go.
Well,
yeah, I always like to. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I always like to try to give something up and then replace it with taking on, something else. And so, even though I'm a total ghost on social media, I do spend a ton of time either doom scrolling, through Twitter at night or something like that, or scrolling through reels on Instagram or something to that effect. So I think I am going to, totally cut off of social media for the 40 days of Lent. And my what I'm taking on is what I was kind of hinting at earlier. Is I'm going to try to read something specifically every day. I haven't figured out all the details on exactly what I'm going to do. It's either going to be something scripture related, or try to read through some more religious books that I hadn't caught up on and are in my backlog. So something to that effect. I'll figure it out before Wednesday.
Yeah, of course, social media. I use social media for my job a lot, so it's
That's a little
hard
different, yeah.
It's hard to distinguish between the two, because I can log on to just the churches, but you still get all the notifications and stuff for your own. But y'all are gonna laugh at me, and I cannot believe I'm saying this out loud. If I had to give up something technological, I'd have to give up my Farmville. Y'all, I have played Farmville for so many years. It's like a running joke in the family about Farmville and me. You probably don't know this, but there's 3 versions of Farmville. So there's Farmville 1, which is no longer anymore. I mean, it's gone. Just in the last year is it gone. Now I'd quit my first farm. So then I had Farmville 2 for years. But Farmville 3 is out, and I'm a big Farmville player. The kids laugh that my butt can't hit the seat of the car without me checking my farm, because tasks are timed, and so my farm can be farming and making things while I'm driving. So it is it's a big deal. But y'all see, you didn't know that about me.
No, I didn't.
I
That's
did not.
interesting.
If you'll message me on ICQ later, I'll check your MySpace and see if you've
That's right. Yeah, the oldest game over the past century.
See, look.
I honestly didn't know I did not know it existed still.
This is Farmville 3.
So I don't think I ever played Farmville, but what I used to play, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, was the Smurfs game, which I think was just a version of Farmville.
There's a million knockoffs, but there will never be another Farmville.
The OG.
So, there's Longwood University in Virginia, and when Abby was looking at schools, I begged her to go to Longville or Longwood so I could have my picture made with the farm "Welcome to Farmville" sign.
Wow.
Sorry. Yeah, it's terrible.
We're learning a lot about you tonight.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot about me that y'all don't know.
That's right.
Just saying.
Oh goodness. Oh.
But I'm not giving it up for Lent, because I say is,
I don't blame you.
Farmville is what keeps me from killing people.
Farmville is life.
Is life.
Farmville is life. It is not a game.
You sound like you need an intervention. You're going to have to go through a recovery program for this.
I mean, it's not so bad, but I will say that if I have to get up in the middle of the night and I'm on a timed challenge, go to the bathroom, I might check in on the Farmville and start new tasks. So
wow.
I'm
not big on phone games. I play Carcassonne, and I'll play it maybe once a week on my phone. But I'm not big on phone games or any games really.
I used to play. Is it Clone Wars? I used to play whatever the word game is. With my dad, and you should hear my family talk about us doing that, because one day Dad and I were at Cracker Barrel of all places, and we were on the same team, and he was like, "Hey, I need you to take your archers and go storm the castle."
Oh, Clash of Clans or something?
Yes, Clash of Clans.
Probably,
yeah, I used to play that one quite a bit.
And so now, so.
That's awesome. I'm sure anyone that was a neighbor at your table was laughing.
But I used to be a gamer. I mean, back in the day. But then kids came along, and it's not as kosher for girls and mamas to say, "Listen, I gotta go play my game." It doesn't fly like that anymore.
I used to be a gamer as well, and I pretend to be, and I'll buy a new console and then collect dust for years.
Oh my gosh, there's so many great video games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have not got the newest generation with the Xbox 5 or the Xbox or PS5 or the Xbox. What is it?
Series
Series something? I don't know. I don't even know. And I don't think I'm going to. Like, I think I'm going to resist that temptation, hopefully. That's what I'm doing for
Okay.
Lent. I'm resisting the temptation to buy a new console.
You're going to continue doing what you've been doing. That's a great Lent sacrifice.
Now that I say that,
I
I'll
am
probably
lucky.
break it and buy one.
My kids do like to play games, and I do get to actually still consider myself a gamer, even though probably 90% of my time's on more like Minecraft or something like that played with them, or 7 or 8 year old games that I'm catching up on now because I finally have a little bit of time to play them in the evening.
I do like my games.
Yeah.
Privateer back in the day, man. I was like killer.
Nothing wrong with that.
Y'all not even old enough to know about Privateer.
I don't
Nope.
think I've heard of that one.
I don't think so.
It was like space pirates, and it was great. It was grand. You could. It's just wonderful.
It was a video game?
Mhm. On a PC.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, Wing Commander Privateer, is that the one?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of Wing Commander. Yeah, I didn't know they had a Privateer subtitle.
It was yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I used to
And
be
then-
big into Sims when I was a kid.
The Sims was good. Y'all probably don't know the game Empire either. It was a DOS game. And it was a very sad day when we could no longer play it on anything. But now thinking back on it, it was so pixelated, and you had like little block. We literally had little blocks that looked like the whole block looked like a tank, and it was great.
Nice. I know
I would play that with my dad, too.
we've talked about Oregon Trail before, and we've all grew up with that. So that's one that brings back fond memories. I ordered what Doom? What'd you say? Doom? Yeah. Doom was
I'm
good.
a big Doom fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have the Oregon Trail card game now. Haven't played it, but I got it.
So see, this podcast was supposed to be about us reflecting, and we've just gone off like a 20-minute thing on. You learned a lot of stuff about me tonight.
Underground network of rabbit burrows that we went down.
We have. We're reflecting on everything.
Yeah. So y'all know that I'm a closet gamer, and I played Farmville I'm not kidding y'all, probably for 15 years.
Yeah.
Whenever it first came out. It was, no, I'm just, never mind. It was bad. We played it when it came out on Facebook, and we may or not have had a system of people who you could text or send an instant message to that had your login information because it used to be that your crops would die, and they would die if you didn't harvest them in so long. So yeah, so we had a whole system of people. It's bad.
You know what else would die if you didn't feed it? Gigapets.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I recently bought
Tamagotchi.
one. Tamagotchi. I bought a Pac-Man version from GameStop, and it's a new release of that, and I just bought it for nostalgia. I don't plan on using it. I love those back in the day.
Yeah. But we got our kids Webkins because we didn't want to have pets.
You remember Neopets?
No.
Roland, do you? I think it was more like online. It was early 2000s, and it was sort of like the Gigapet idea, but it was just online.
Okay, so see, from 1999 to 2005, I had toddlers. And so there's a whole gap. If a TV show came out during that time, I don't know anything about it. If a movie came out during that time, I probably don't know anything about it. Anything, unless it was feeding, cleaning up, changing diapers, whatever, I just don't know anything about it.
That's fair.
That's why I don't know anything about TV. It's not it's the kids. Not that I never
Sure,
watched them before
that's
the kids,
reason.
but
That's the reason. Yeah.
Speaking of TV, the last episode of 1883 comes out tomorrow.
Oh wow!
Did y'all watch it?
Yes, I'm up to date. I'm sure Bowling hasn't, but I'm up to date, and it's an amazing show. And this past episode was
rocked
tragic.
my socks.
Yeah, and I'm definitely looking forward to the finale. I read that there is another spinoff that's going to be
1923.
1923.
1923.
Like, it's amazing they're making a universe out of this.
They are. So
See,
we
and
weren't
that's where it's going to
Yellowstone.
kill us, because we sat down the other night to start Yellowstone. Yes, that's where we're at. To start
We
Yellowstone.
haven't watched Yellowstone either, so
I
don't
haven't
do
either.
that.
I haven't either.
And we saw that the first episode was like an hour and 45 minutes, and we were like, oh my gosh, we cannot do this, and we haven't even attempted it yet.
So what I find interesting is Yellowstone is on Peacock. 1883 is on Paramount Plus. So I found that interesting that it's not the same companies making them.
Yeah. I don't know. We also, this is probably going to look it up. We watched the first episode of The End Game.
The end. I don't know that I've
It's a
heard of
new
that.
show.
Hmm.
And we didn't come away with it saying, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But we came away with it saying, I need to know more. Like,
There was a show that I started with that, what's his name? That he plays Hawkeye. I know you all know who I'm talking about. He's in a new series on Paramount Plus called The Mayor of Kingstown or something like that. Kingston or Kingstown. I started the first.
Rittner.
Yeah, that's it. I started the first episode. I made it through half of it, and even though I thought I would like the premise of it, it hasn't hooked me yet. And I watched a good 25 minutes, and I'm not hooked. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to continue it or not.
you know the rule. You have to watch the whole first episode.
Well, it seems like now you have to watch at least 3 or 4 episodes before you can even make a judgment on the season.
Could be.
Unfortunately, so I don't know. It just seems unrealistic, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't know that any town could be this corrupt, but maybe so. I don't know.
Yeah, we haven't seen that one. We got way behind because of the Olympics. I know the Olympics viewing was way down, but we were one of the crazy people who were watching it. But it just was not as entertaining this year. And I think a lot of it had to do with just the political unrest that was going on. I think that I think also one of the cool things about the Olympic coverage is all of the cultural stuff that you get to experience, and you couldn't do any of that. So I don't know, but we were disappointed.
I wasn't disappointed because I didn't watch it this year. Didn't watch it last year.
And we know you don't like the Olympics.
I don't like the Olympics.
Awful.
Yeah, I know. I'm terrible.
Terrible.
Okay. All right. Well, we've like you said, we're in a burrow now. I don't know we can dig ourselves out, but we're going to have to, I guess, wrap up for the season. So, any final thoughts? Parting words for our listeners? My parting word is, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, share any of our content. It can be a post or a video or whatever. Let someone know about us. If you like what we're doing, let someone know to help us continue growing our audience. So that was my spiel.
I'm going to piggyback off that and say we were talking about things that we think that we've liked better, that has went better this year. And if you're somebody that listens to the podcast and you're listening to us learn the wrong lessons, please be like, oh, no, not that. Do something else here. This is what I really liked. In other words, just give us feedback. We love feedback, love hearing from people that listen and what you like and what you don't like. Sometimes we get it wrong, but yeah, just let us know.
Yeah, and I think my thing is, tell us what you want to hear us talk about. Like, if you have questions for us, I mean, we're here because we want to be doing this, and we all have stories to tell. So ask us questions.
Absolutely. All right. So hope everyone has a great Lent and leading into the Easter season. And we will be back, I guess, the Monday after Easter. So peace be to you, and have a good night. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really hope you got some enjoyment out of the podcast this week. While we are on Lent break, make sure to check out our social media and our website for continued updates and content. Also, check out our website for merch because we have t-shirts. We hope that you've enjoyed this season, and we will see you again after Easter. Thanks, everyone.